Hello everyone, this is Type V3 and I've always preferred my billionaire playboys to display textbook narcissism and be heavy into metal. Welcome then to the SH Figuarts Iron Man Mark 6, the suit of armor Tony Stark dons through the final stages of Iron Man 2. I'm not even going to try and hide my enthusiasm here. This figure is downright gorgeous, and even behind the plastic window of his packaging, it's impossible to deny that fact. The key to this figure's aesthetic is the glorious paint scheme, or rather, the sheer abundance of it. No area on this 6-inch figure was left without a healthy layer of glossy and metallic flake-infused paint. More impressive is that even with the thick coating, the surface lining remains crisp, and the smallest of details are still easy to make out. The fluid silhouette and well-hidden joints also add to the strength of this figure. Now, despite looking all sorts of fantastic, SH Figuarts Iron Man isn't exactly the most screen-accurate representation of the character. For starters, the figure is somewhat stockier than it should be. The shoulders are broader, the neck is shorter, and the waist is slightly thinner. The tint of paint is a few shades off, and if you were to compare this figure directly against the on-screen model, I doubt you'd find many areas where the intricate details actually line up. Of course, the majority of these changes are minimal at best, and there's no denying that this figure still echoes the design of the Mark 6 armor. Guess what? Iron Man has some crazy articulation. The neck, for starters, has two ball joints, one at the base and one at the top. Goes back and forth, side to side, and can do the full upward extension of the neck there, so you can do the flight poses that most Iron Man figures fail to be able to do. Shoulders are on double-ended ball joints on a stem, so they can go around in circles. That shoulder pad comes up. Bicep swivel, double-jointed elbows, ball-jointed wrists, and even this part is very interesting here. Most Iron Man figures I've noticed have a flap like this, but it's made of a malleable plastic. This actually has a tiny hinge built in, so that when you move his arms up, that moves. So that's awesome. Fragile, maybe, but awesome. And this shoulder pad here, it is on a sliding joint there, so it'll move to cover up any area of the elbow that you think should be. Again, small touches like that just make my day. I just love things like that. Torso, amazing. I mean, the crunch there is great, the waist is great, and this piece is there solely just to keep the lining of the aesthetics intact. It works wonderful. SH Figuarts style hips, so they come down, out, thigh swivel, double jointed knee. Again, I love how they put the knee pad there so that it doesn't really make that knee look awkward. The ankles, rocker joints, ball joints, toe tilts, and these flaps even have their own little bits of articulation. And of course, the big highlight, both feet are die cast, makes for some excellent stability. So Iron Man can do some pretty awesome poses right out of the box. No need for a stand in terms of getting those toe joints activated, and yeah, it's just so much fun to pose this thing. As far as action figures are concerned, even with this robotic design, I don't feel like any of his joints are limited or hindered, and with all my SH Figuarts, I'd have to say that on articulation grounds alone, this is probably the best. Swapping hands on the Mark 6 is more tedious than expected. The armor pads must be removed and reattached onto the set of hands in use. It would have been nice to have each appendage come with their own armor pads, but I suppose this was a cost-saving measure. Anyhow, along with fists, Iron Man has a pair of open palms that should allow for more display options. Then there's the repulsor blast hands that have a special peg in the center to accommodate for the effect parts. They're easy to attach, their vibrancy is striking, and the tips are even made from a soft bendable plastic, so they shouldn't break, though they may end up droopy over time. The remainder of Iron Man's accessories deal with flight poses. You get large thrusters that peg into his feet and smaller ones to act as stabilizers. Flight hands are also included if speeding through the air is more your style. Moving along, there's also air flap accessories for the figure's back and calves. You do have to remove the current panels on the Mark 6 to implement these, however. I found them far too specific and annoying to install that I doubt I'd use them all that often. On the other hand, they do look great and reveal some nice detailing that the suit had otherwise hidden. One thing I should point out is that this set doesn't come with a display stand of any sort. Normally that wouldn't skew my opinion on a figure, but in this case it does. With more than half the accessories dealing in some sort of flight-enabled action, a heavy amount of play functionality is denied straight out of the box. It's disappointing. When Bandai first revealed that they'd be adding Iron Man to their SH Figuarts lineup, I wasn't very interested in the announcement. And it's not because I'm not a fan of Tony Stark. In fact, he's my favorite Avenger. Most of my apathy comes from the decision to go with the Mark 6 armor. I like the design, but with the Mark 7 through 42 having already been shown off, this figure's look just feels dated by comparison. In spite of this, Bandai have delivered the absolute best 6-inch Iron Man action figure and possibly one of the greatest action figures out there. He looks just as good as a statue and carries all the articulation expected from a higher end collectible. Of course, that's not to say the entire package is without fault. First off are Bandai's artistic liberties taken with the design. No single change is all that large, but with so many alterations, hardcore fans of the Mark 6 armor will surely feel something's amiss. Secondly is the exclusion of a display stand. This action may be par for the course when it comes to SH Figuarts, but when you consider just how much effort went into flight-specific accessories, you get the hint that this was a conscious decision made by Bandai to guarantee an extra purchase from the consumer. And with Iron Man already costing around $40, that fact only stings a little bit more. Ultimately, SH Figuarts Iron Man Mark 6 represents the best and worst of this Tamashii Nation's toy line. The core figure is near perfect and all the accessories are great, but the set as a whole falls prey to Bandai's questionable business practices. Still, if you're in need of an armored Avenger, I can't help but recommend this one because it just blows the competition right out of the water. Anyways, this has been Type V3. Thanks for watching, and while making more armors would seem like the obvious direction for Bandai to pursue, I'd personally love to see a Tony Stark figure all on his own.